300, directed by Zack Snyder, or Jack Snyder, as I often refer to him as,
Okay.
is an epic tale of courage, defiance, and rock-hard abs. Lots of abs. Based on Frank Miller's graphic novel, the film follows King Leonidas, Gerard Butler, and his 300 Spartan warriors as they face off against the overwhelming Persian army led by the flamboyant and intimidating Xerxes. Xerxes? I get all the good pronunciation ones,
Yeah, you
don't I?
do. I like this.
That's Rodrigo Santoro. When the Persian Empire threatens to enslave Greece, Leonidas leads his small but elite force to the narrow pass of Thermopylae. There they use strategy and unyielding determination to hold their ground against waves of Persian soldiers. As battles rage, Queen Gorgo, Lena Headley, fights her own war back in Sparta, striving to rally support for her husband's impossible stand. The film's hyper-stylized visuals and visceral action blend with moments of betrayal and sacrifice, creating a dramatic retelling of one of history's most famous last stands. 300 is a bold spectacle of grit and glory, where legend and myth collide in a storm of swords and shields.
Swords and sandals.
Sure, swords and sandals.
I love it. Yeah, in the swords and sandals kind of genre, this is a banger. This is one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Comic book kind of swords and sandals.
Yeah, really stylized. And probably one of the things that Zack Snyder, I think, got right.
Yeah, I think he nailed it.
Yep.
It's not perfect again, but it hits for such a bold film.
Yeah.
Like, it really is out there, and it hits more nails on the head than it misses.
It's still really fun to watch. It still looks amazing. All of that visual style holds up. Like,
Yeah.
I could see this film being made today. It'd probably be a little crisper. It'd probably have, it'd look a little sharper, but it's pretty great. And actually really, it's really heavy with grain and grit, which I think is what makes it stand up so well.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, keeps you guessing and thinking.
Yep.
But the main thing that drew me to talk about this one was how much I didn't like the Roman emperors.
Yeah.
And how kind of pathetically they were.
Yeah.
and mismatched, and they kind of wrecked Gladiator for me. Gladiator 2. In 300, Snyder's trying to do a similar he does a similar thing.
Yeah, with Xerxes. Yeah.
Yeah, he makes the Persians kind of ridiculous. Like, they're not realistically portrayed.
Yep.
And yet somehow they fit. It works.
The whole thing's hyper masculine, and I think the way he plays with that and the variations of masculinity in this film is interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe that's straight out of the comic. I don't know.
Another thing that it does well, that Gladiator doesn't, is the setup and making you care about the characters.
Yeah.
And I think that's just all the more bloody impressive that this is a comic, and it's so sparing. It doesn't have. It's not as long as Gladiator. It's punchy. It moves through the action quite quickly, and yet it grounds it. Like with the Lena Headey character, you're right in there. You really know who she is, what she's about. And you know their relationship. Even the sex scene is kind of spicy and cool, in a way that Hollywood doesn't do often. Like, you get some character out of the sex scene.
Yeah.
Everything is used for purpose.
Yeah.
Completely unlike Gladiator 2.
I think if I were to sort of talk about some potential flaws with it, I think that you get a little tired of the action at a certain point.
Yeah.
The fight stops being, I think, because of the sort of what a hyper style that they've used for it. It sort of becomes a little tiring after a while. And then the other thing was when they all die, spoiler alert, at the end.
Yeah.
It happens so suddenly that I kind of didn't care too much. I feel like we lost an emotional
Yeah.
moment there. Like
Yeah.
maybe if they'd made a bit more of that final push, that final battle, and then they'd all died, that I would have felt it more.
Yeah.
It just happened so suddenly.
Ended in a whimper, not a bang, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgive it though, because I think clearly that was done on purpose.
Sure.
So I'm gonna just grant them that.
Yep.
And as for the, getting sick of the, the battles, I agree, but I reckon they did a pretty good job, and it reminds me of Alien, and you being reminded of Alien Isolation,
Yep.
the game.
Sure.
I thought they set up that fairly cleverly for it feeling like a game, like Double Dragon or something. So you clock one level, and then you look up on the hill, and there's another one coming. And because it's very comic book, it allowed it to do that in a stylized way that just got through a few enemies, each getting more ridiculous than the other.
Totally.
But making it fun where it could.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Did you find the rape scene a little bit squeamish? A little squirrely, a little uncomfortable? Or were you okay with it?
Well, no, I'm not okay with it.
Were you okay with rape scenes, Doc?
Well, I just said that the sex scene was really good, and
I knew which scene you were talking about. You were talking about the
my
earlier
goodness, yes,
sex scene.
I should have clarified.
Not the rapey one.
No, the rapey one was very well handled, I thought, because it didn't. It was unlike the first, unlike the nice one, which got a little explicit. We see beneath the covers. This one was more shoulder up and more about her defiance.
Definitely.
And I really felt that you were feeling for her and the sacrifice that she's willingly making.
Yep.
And then when you see them both, at the Senate,
And he turns it on her, which is
turns it on her.
a dog move.
It was a dog
Another
move.
dog move. Yeah.
But you've just seen them in the bedroom, and now he's done that, and it really had resonance. So I liked the scene.
I would see, that's the thing too, right? Is I would vote for the scene in the same way that you just did. Like it works, right? The thing is that in this today, I feel like we are far less likely to see rape scenes in films.
Yeah.
And it's changed the dynamic of like how the viewer views a rape scene.
Yeah.
It's almost like, we're pretending that it never happens. And so it's being slowly written out of stories, even though obviously there's an awful long history of rape happening in the world.
I reckon this is just a phase where films don't have the courage to confront difficult things.
Yeah.
Well, films and society. And, I don't particularly like rapey scenes or scenes where the bloke's making eyes at the young chick or any of those. But
True.
It does exist in the real world.
Yeah.
So I am happy to see it represented.
I agree. Okay, good. Anything else you wanted to say about 300?
I just want to say we talked about the, how great the Speed 2 script was. I just want to say that 300 actually was great.
Yeah.
And this may stem from the fact that it's, comes from a graphic novel. Therefore, every word means something. I felt on several occasions I paused and marveled at how economical and both melodramatic and beautiful it was.
Totally. Yeah, I totally agree. I think really well put together. Probably the one little thing that stuck out to me was how much they were yelling at each other the whole way through the film. Seemed a little unnecessary sometimes, but also the whole thing was like, this is Sparta. These are Spartans. These are like intense people that do yell at each other all the time.
But they weren't always yelling.
No, it just seemed that way.
No, there were moments of light and shade, and that was the real victory of this film, that they can be yelling at each other and then go almost seamlessly into a tender moment, where, and there was some barreling of the camera, which I love occasionally. There was even that humor where he's suddenly sounds very Irish and eating an apple and making jokes in the
Right.
middle of the battlefield, which is silly but fits.
Yes.
There was several tones in one that worked.
Yeah.